Hello and welcome to the podcast Beyond the Pages, where we will be discussing on Perumal Murugan's critically acclaimed translated novel Poonachi. I'm your host Parvati, and this is the podcast we will be discussing Perumal Murugan's translated novel Poonachi, or the story of a black goat. Perumal Murugan is a contemporary Tamil novelist, poet, short story writer and chronicler. A professor of Tamil by profession, he begins his literary journey with the publication of short stories in Tamil in the late 1980s. We will be doing an anthropomorphic reading of the novel, which is literary act of giving human traits to non-human beings to reveal the politics of power, patriarchy and survival in rural India. Now, Poonachi may at first seem like a simple fable about a goat, but beneath this deceptively quiet narrative lies a sharp critique of how power, be it social, political or gendered, operates in human society. Through the life of a black female goat, Murugan stages the story of every subaltern woman who exists on the margins of voice and visibility. The utilization of anthropomorphism, investing the non-human goat Poonachi with human capabilities, emotions and thoughts, is the novel's central theoretical framework. For Murugan, this choice was highly deliberate. After the public controversy surrounding his earlier novel One Part Women, Murugan famously declared, "Perumal Murugan, the writer, is dead." It was only with Poonachi that he resurrected himself through allegory. As he writes in his preface, "I'm fearful of writing about humans. Let me write about animals." This choice wasn't escapism, it was a strategy. By using a goat as his protagonist, Murugan re-entered the literary space camouflaged by fable, transforming censorship into creativity. This anthropomorphic lens transforms Poonachi from a simple farm animal into a sensitive creature, capable of reflecting on universal and mundane human confrontations with desire, love, freedom, poverty, resistance, and greed. Anthropomorphism, traditionally used to humanize animals, takes on a different, radical edge here. Poonachi, though mute and marginalized, is feeling, dreaming, loving, fearing, and reflecting, all quintessentially human traits. Through anthropomorphism, Murugan reverses the gaze. The non-human speaks for the human, exposing the moral decay and systemic control embedded in rural hierarchies. The primary theme explored through this framework is the vulnerability of the common person against the mighty mechanisms of the state or the regime. The story subtly camouflages a powerful political critique. The most striking instance of this critique is the detailed description of the mandatory ear-piercing ceremony for gods. This process is depicted as dehumanizing, bureaucratic ordeal involving long queues and intense scrutiny, immediately drawing comparisons to the trauma of massive state registration efforts such as Aadhaar in India. The officials interrogate the old couple, demonstrating how easily the state can label its citizens as adversaries, enemies, and traitors if they cannot produce the correct documentation. Beyond political critique, the anthropomorphism underpins an important theme of gender narratology, charting the life of Poonachi as an allegory for the struggles of the subaltern women. Critics call this the gender narratology through the non-human, where the god's robe around her neck becomes an invisible rope of socially constructed gender roles. Every restriction on her movement mirrors the confinement of women under patriarchy. The novel thus becomes an allegorical Bildungsroman, charting not just Poonachi's growth but the evolution of female consciousness against suppression. Poonachi's female body becomes a site of production. Her existence is often measured purely by her capacity for reproduction. She is hailed as a miracle for delivering 7 kids. Her repeated pregnancies symbolize the commodification of the female body. Through the god's reproductive exploitation, Murugan critiques how both women and animals are reduced to their biological functions under patriarchy. Yet, Poonachi is not purely a tale of despair. The novel is also celebrating human-animal relationships grounded in empathy and care. The old couple who nurture Poonachi embody the remnants of tenderness in a mechanized, surveilled world. Here, anthropomorphism bridges the emotional distance between species, reminding us that both human and animal lives are interdependent and vulnerable. But towards the end of the novel, it becomes a meditation on the act of survival. For instance, the old women who nurtured Poonachi with devotion, later becomes selfish and consents to sell Poonachi's kids for money when faced with a financial crisis. Poonachi herself, despite her innocence, demonstrates selfishness when she resents the old women for preventing her from staying with her love, Poovan. So, when we read Poonachi through the lens of anthropomorphism, we don't just see a goat, we see a mirror reflecting human fragility, social injustice. Through the bleat of a goat, Poonachi becomes the lament of a woman, a writer, and a world that has forgotten to listen. Thank you for joining me on this critical analysis of Perumal Murugan's Poonachi, or the story of a black goat. I'm Parvati here, signing off.